What's going on? This is Councilman Basheer Jones, and I hope and pray all is well. And you are tuned in to the very first episode of Kelley Talks. I'm here with the next mayor of our city, our council president, Mr. Kevin Kelley. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm
What's
doing
going on?
great.
Everything
Great
going
to
good.
Councilman.
Thank
Great
you
to
so
be here
much,
with you.
man. Thank you for being here. I know that you're extremely busy during this time. So I just appreciate you taking the time to have such an important dialogue.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to have the dialogue. These are the types of things I like doing. I want to get to connect with people. I want to be able to speak to people and have people hear from me directly. And I'll tell you, there's no topic that I don't want to talk about tonight. If it's on your mind, I know it's on the people's minds. Yeah. And that's how you've always been, is you've always been that person that's speaking for people. And so I'm here to answer whatever I can do to help people get to know me a little better.
I appreciate it. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be. I'm not gonna hold back. We're gonna have some conversation.
All of our conversations have always been honest. Yeah. So we always get to where we need to be. So
I appreciate that. Well, you've been council president for a while now. How long?
8 years. So 2 terms. When I'm done, it will be 8 full years as council president.
8 years. 8 years. But a lot of people, for those who may not be familiar with you. Every one of us as human beings, we have a background story. Yeah. Talk a little bit about where you began, where you come from, where
sure.
Talk about your mom and dad. I mean, just speak about, what made Kevin Kelley.
All right. Well, thank you for the question. And I'll say, I'm kind of surprised sometimes that people that I feel I've known for a long time and developed relationships with, they don't know a lot about me because I'm, just kind of keep certain things private. But the more I talk to people, I think it's important that the people know the person that is going to be their mayor. And more importantly, for a lot of people in the city of Cleveland, I know I look a certain way, I present a certain way, and people might have some misperception that I was born with certain advantages, or I come from a certain type of family and things were easy, and I was I was born a lawyer or something. Right. And that's just not true. So my story is it's a Cleveland story. Like a lot of people, I struggled when I was younger. There's been 8 generations of Kelleys in Cleveland. Wow. And I know 4 of them. Okay. And my grandfather built our family's kind of ancestral homeland on 176th Street. Wow. And my father was one of 6. And 4 of his siblings stayed right in the neighborhood, raised their families.
What brought them to Cleveland out of anywhere in the world?
Yeah, just
made them come to Cleveland.
Job opportunities, coming over from Ireland and looking for a better way, looking for hope. And we started on the near west side of Cleveland. The first home that my great-grandfather built is now leveled. It's where I-90 is, right outside Zone Recreation Center. Oh, wow. By West 65th Street.
Wow.
So kind of started there and then, built west. So I didn't know that grandfather, obviously. My grandfather that I did know built the house. And that's the family that I know that I've been around. But 4 of my father's siblings and 26 of my cousins all grew up in the West Park neighborhood.
So you got a pretty big family.
Bunch of them. Yeah. And my father was one of the 2 that moved around. He got transferred, and he was a teacher, and he went from teaching. He was kind of recruited to Chrysler, and then different jobs doing labor relations because there was a kind of a skill transfer. We moved to Chicago when I was, I don't know how young, but I was very young. So we moved from, we were from Ohio to Chicago, and it seemed like it was a good opportunity for our family.
So when you think about when you talk about being here in Cleveland, and I remember going, I went on tour, and I was in Dublin, Ireland. And one of the names that are like the biggest names in the villages is Jones. I couldn't believe it, man. And it was like, your last name is Jones?
So we are brothers.
Basheer Jones? I said, yeah, my last name is Jones. But no, man, but definitely brothers. You sound like you've had your own experience. Of course, we all have our own experiences and our own struggles. What can you remember, just about your mom during that time?
Well, so about this time, we were in a situation where things were fairly good. Okay, so we were standard nuclear family. Father went to work. My mom was home raising us. We were doing things like playing on baseball leagues and basketball leagues and doing things that kids do. Things changed. My father had a alcohol problem. He lost his job. We were without for a long time. Went on public assistance. We lost the family home.
So you mean your family was on, when you say public assistance, like you are on food stamps?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was then I guess you asked about my mom, and I know this was very difficult for her. I think we underestimate, what poverty, the stress it puts on a family. And I know that this was very difficult for her.
What's some of the good qualities that you remember that your mom exuded during that time, of struggle?
Well, I think if there's one thing that I would say, maybe it's the reason that, I keep things close to the vest, is she never wanted to let us know how hard things were. She always tried to make things good for us. And when my father died and we were kind of packing up to come back to Cleveland, our family came with a truck, picked us up, packed us up. She really made it seem like, we were just, that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah. You make me think of my mother when we were experiencing poverty and shelters and things of that matter. And, one thing about it, whether your mom is Black or white, Irish or African American, the strength of women is nothing that can compare to that.
There's nothing. I mean, the strength of a mother. I mean, just being able to, go from a semi, somewhat normal, probably I'll say middle class existence with just your family and your kids doing what kids should be doing at their normal stages, and just kind of it all kind of. It really was a wrap. I mean, we went from what I just described to in the second situation where we were struggling, we were on public assistance, we couldn't afford, we had the house was foreclosed upon. This was probably a 12 to 16 month period. Like, it happened really quickly. And then my father passed away and we just had nothing. And really, and after that happened, after my dad died and after we kind of lost the house, there was no reason for us to stay in Chicago. And that's why it just made perfect sense that, we're going home.
Right.
And
you came home. You came back to Cleveland.
Yeah, I came back to Cleveland.
Well, now, I want to, that time period that you experienced, that it truly created, I'm sure, a why in you. As you look at your life, you're from, the work that you've done to becoming a social worker. I've heard people talk about that. Yeah. Like, what brought you to that profession?
So it's hard to say exactly. Was it something in my upbringing that brought me there? But after I graduated, I was involved in a volunteer program called Jesuit Volunteer Corps. And
what school did you go to?
Marquette University.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So I got a scholarship there, and everything, was able to graduate from Marquette. And I was in this Jesuit Volunteer Corps. And I worked at the Westside Catholic Center. And it was just your basic drop-in shelter for homeless people. We served meals. And I did the men's homeless clothing program. Okay, but when you do that, and just what I had been through, you realize that but for a few things, any of these people could be in a much better situation or worse situation, and just kind of people are people, and whether they were homeless at the time, we could have been homeless. When I saw the moms lining up because we had a Christmas toy program.
I remember those programs.
Yeah.
Me and my family used to stand in them lines for food and Christmas dinners and Thanksgiving dinners. I could remember that, man. I really appreciate those programs.
Yeah, and it's just you just that everybody's experience is different. People are often too quick to judge why somebody's in a certain situation. And we prescribe reasons why they are where they are. Right. And none of it's true, because every situation is different. And like I say, but for a few circumstances, any of those people could be in a different situation. But for a few circumstances, I could be in different. You could be in different circumstances.
And that's what I want to talk about. Let's really go into that. The fact is that we live in a city that's a majority Black city, and there are experiences that Black people, that brown people, that poor white people go through that some can't truly even understand it. Yeah. I mean, let's just put it out there. I mean, how do you, as someone who have experienced public assistance and went through some struggles, but how do you lead a city where there are people who have experienced things that maybe you can't understand?
Sure. So one of the kind of the most beneficial parts of my journey and my, not my school education, but my life education, is when I was a young person, having gone through certain things, I thought I had good poor person creds. Like I thought I understood everything, and I, grew up tough, and I was I was raised a certain way, and I overcame certain things. But what I realized is my lived experience is different, and it is different because of race. I mentioned my family coming to pack me up, and I think that, or pack our family up. Now, many people have families, and that could have happened in a lot of things. So that's not necessarily unusual. But you take somebody that was, that is father passed away, single parent family, on public assistance, just trying to, make ends meet. But I also had, different advantages, and I've really learned that the system is better set up for, a nice boy from the west side of Cleveland than somebody with the exact same circumstances that might have grown up in Glenville or Huff or gone to a different high school.
So how do you lead a city with that understanding?
Well, you have to start with the idea that you have to recognize it first. You have to recognize that, oh, okay, yeah, this was tough, but my experience is not like your experience. And that understanding is really like challenges me all the time to make sure that the lens that I'm looking through is, one of equity and understanding the extreme inequities that the past 400 years of the country have been. A couple examples. I mean, the fact that I was able to go to St. Edward High School and other people paid for it. I know that option wasn't available to other folks. We paid some. My mom did what she could, but anything we couldn't cover, the others helped me with that. The fact that I was able to get a scholarship to university. A lot of people don't get that, and I know that it was to be somebody who's went to St. Ed's, is from the west side of Cleveland, then you have a certain advantage getting into certain colleges, and I recognize that. But there's things that really brought the difference home to me, and one is when I first learned that young black men had to have a conversation with their parents about what happens when you get pulled over. That was shocking to me, because when I was a kid, when I was in high school, not to be flip about it, but it was almost a game. Like if you got pulled over, like, did you get out of a ticket? Did you ask your girlfriend to start crying? It was stupid. But when I heard that somebody my age grew up worried about that traffic stop,
yeah, man,
that
it could have been the last stop.
Yeah. Now that shocked me, because we're not talking about some kind of criminal thing happening. We're talking about your own government,
right? That
people were fearful
of.
Mm-hmm.
As mayor, how do you, in regards of policy, let's just go for one example.
Yeah.
When we look at police officers, how do we make sure that we have a system that better represents the demographic of the city?
Sure.
How do you diversify the police force?
Sure.
What's your plans?
Okay, so I have a couple of plans. Now, first off, I believe that we're always best when I've always, national searches for other things. I think we need to start local. Now, for reasons we've discussed, for example, the public safety program of MLK just hasn't produced what it should have produced. But there's no reason that it can't. There's no reason we can't go back to our own kids, our own young people in schools, and say, this is a career that needs you. We need you to be a part of the Division of Police so that you can better build the trust because you're from the community. We need you to build trust with the community. When they see that you matriculated from MLK High School or whatever high school we choose to the Cleveland Division of Police, that sends a message. That sends a message that we as a city have made an opportunity available that, let's just be clear, once was not available. It was a much different situation getting into Division.
So how do you use that bully pulpit in regards of policies, in regards of internal structures?
So we have to do a better job of recruiting, and once we start recruiting and somebody takes that initial test, our job's not done. On the west side, when you've had different families of police, whether police or fire, if I can throw fire in, for example, everybody knows the drill. There's the physical part, there's the written part, everybody gets in the classes, and you see people training, but they have that knowledge, because of their dad or their uncle or somebody that they knew that had been through this before.
Right.
It's almost it's just a part of growing up on the west side of Cleveland. Is if you're going public safety forces, you know you need to take a prep class. You know what you need to do to train to get through. We need to make sure that we are, helping people that don't have that knowledge.
Right.
That this is a great class you should take. This is the physical part. For the written part, you need to focus on X, Y, and Z. And we need to make sure that we are not just stopping once somebody is, quote, recruited and takes that first part of it. But we absolutely have to make sure that we continue to build a diverse public safety force so that there is community trust. And the challenge we have right now, one of the challenges, because there are many, is that, we've gone many years without taking this trust building exercise serious. And now we want young black men to be police officers? Well, we've got some healing to do here. We have to make sure we've got some outreach to do here. We can't just think we can just turn the switch, turn the faucet, and all of a sudden there's going to be, a kumbaya trust moment.
In your first term, do you have a goal of, right now the police department is 65% white men, EMS and fire department 75%. The numbers are horrific.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal that you would say, hey, I would like for this to be at this percentage, that you would consider it to have been successful in your first term?
So I don't want to be, promise something I can't deliver upon. I want to keep my goals realistic and consistent. I believe that at the rate that we are hiring, that the diversity number should increase by 7% each year. And I think that's achievable based on the classes I see coming into both police and fire. But we can't, it would not be honest of me to say that we're going to achieve 55% in year one. But it's going to be a goal that's persistent and methodical, and I'm going to get there.
That sounds good. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the first episode of Kelley Talks. I am Councilman Basheer Jones. Make sure you tune in to the next episode. We'll be talking about safety and how Kevin Kelley will make the city of Cleveland a safer place.